fun board game night with the friends. Again, very spontaneous plan. And we're back. We're back. Let's look into this. I'm actually curious about board games. Board games are really fun. Board games are competitive. Board games you are kind of you used to play a lot of these when you were young, and now it gets harder and harder to do these kind of things with your friends. But again, we need to do this. We need to bring back all this kind of stuff. What are the top board games? I don't know if that makes sense, but let's see. What are the top board games? Is WisprFlow working? WisprFlow isn't working. Okay. Let's see. WisprFlow. Are you on now? Hello, hello, hello. Let's go. It's working. Strategy classics. Catan, Ticket to Ride, and Car Cast Zone are often considered the gateway games that introduce millions of people to modern board gaming. They are easy to learn but have real strategic depth. Catan is definitely something that people love. One of our friends was definitely like, hey, let's play Catan. Heavier strategy. Terraforming Mars, Wingspan, Spirit Island are favorites among more experienced players. They offer deeper decision making and longer play sessions. Party and social. Code names. You were playing Code Names. Code Names is amazing. I totally forgot the name of Code Names. I had to look back into this. I had to look back into, what do we say? I had to look back into one of these Partiful events that I hosted, where I brought a bunch of my friends during summer, and I was like, wow, okay, we gotta look back into Code Names. It is a pretty fun game. Okay. Wavelength, Resistance, Secret Hitler are go-to picks for larger groups. They are all about communication, reduction, and reading people. Yeah, amazing. Code names, I think this is the good thing about code names, because it's like, it's not what is true. It's not what you think is true. It's what you think this team member of yours thinks. So you don't look at the world how you look at it. You look at the world how your teammate looks at it. And I think that's a beautiful way. That's a beautiful game. That's a beautiful game. Cooperative. Pandemic and Gloomhaven are standouts here. Pandemic is a tight, accessible co-op experience, while Gloomhaven is a massive campaign-style dungeon crawler that consistently tops ranking on Board Game Geek. Legacy and Campaign. Pandemic Legacy is frequently called one of the greatest board games ever made. The story evolves permanently as you play through it. Timeless designs, chess, Go, backgammon have endured for centuries for good reasons. Still have thriving competitive scenes. I can narrow things down based on what kind of experience you're looking for. Okay. Tell me about the creator of Catan and the history of it. Where is my cursor? I don't see my cursor. What happened? By the way, I think there's a good news, or there's a new news that Claude is now #1 on the App Store in at least USA, in America. Tell me more about Catan, the history of it, who created it, and the story behind its making. Let's see. Recalling Catan's origin and foundational details. Recalling. Okay. I know quite a bit about this from my training data, but let me think about whether I need to search. This is mostly historical information that wouldn't have changed much. I know the basics well, so let me share what I know. Actually, let me search to make sure I have accurate details and any recent developments. Klaus, Teuber, inventor of the board game, left a worthy legacy. Dies at 70. Oh. The visionary who changed gaming with Catan, how a board game like Catan is created. I have plenty of information to give you a comprehensive answer about Catan's history and its training data, which is very interesting. And pretty much all these AIs pretty much know everything, and then they're looking for the bits of information on the internet, which is interesting. Catan is a wonderful origin story. It's really about a frustrated craftsman who found escape and eventually a second career through game design. Wow. Klaus Teuber was born on June 25, 1952 in the village of Rye, Breitenbach, Germany, beneath Bruberg Castle. What? He loved maps as a child. He later recalled being fascinated by the old, musty-smelling maps that were rolled out in school and traveling through them in his imagination. At age 11, He was given the board game Romans versus Carthaginians, which sparked his lifelong passion for games. After studying chemistry and earning an intermediate diploma, Teuber joined his father's 65-employee dental laboratory, which eventually fell into serious problems. He developed games to escape the frustration of his profession. It was his own world he could create. Started designing games in the early 80s as a stress outlet, and he turned out to be remarkably talented. His first 3 published games, Barbarossa, wow, in early 1980s. So it took him many years to come out with a game. It took him, if it says early 80s, let's say it's 1982, let's say it's 1983, let's say it's early 80s, it's 1984. It still took him 4 years to come up with his first hit game. So that's it. Like you, even though you are talented, the first hit will take a long time. Barbarossa 88, Adel, Warp, Flitchte 90, and Drunter und Drüber 91 each won the prestigious Spiel des Jahres Game of the Year award in Germany. Spiel des Jahres. Despite these accolades, none of them became major commercial hits. Building Catan 91, Teuber started designing what would become Catan, inspired by the history of Viking settlers in Iceland. He spent 4 years developing and refining it. His major breakthrough came when he introduced hexagonal tiles instead of squares to represent the game's 5 resources: wood, ore, brick, wool, and wheat. Between 93 and 95, Teuber and publisher Cosmos refined and simplified the game into its final form, with unused mechanics going on to fuel his later games like Endecker and Lowenherz, the family testing ground. Would sit his sons, Guido and Benjamin, down at the table on Sundays, his only day off from working 12-hour shifts as a dental technician, to playtest games. Wow. So he still had a full-time job. He always believed in creating beautiful prototypes and investing significant time and money into them, because he knew his family had to be truly immersed to give honest feedback. Catan was first published in 1995 in Germany by Cosmos as Die Siedler von Catan, and it became one of the first European-style board games to achieve major popularity outside Europe. The first US print run was just 5,000 units shipped out of a garage in Skokie, Illinois, near the airport. Its commercial success allowed Teuber to leave the dental business and become a full-time game designer in 1998. It came out in 1991. Or he first started working on it in 1991, and only in 1998, even though it was a hit, it took so many years. Wow. What made it special, Catan had been credited with launching a more social era for board games by introducing bargaining and bartering among players as a core strategic element. Like many games of that era, you couldn't destroy the players' buildings. You had to communicate and trade to succeed. Founded the family business Catan GmbH with his wife Claudia and sons. As of 2025, over 45 million copies have been sold worldwide in more than 40 languages. Passed away at age 70 after a brief illness. His sons Benjamin and Guido now continue running the company and developing the Catan board in his spirit. It's a pretty remarkable arc. About us, Catan. Wow. About the Catan GmbH, entertainment gaming industry. So that's him. Klaus Teuber. Successful board game Catan, formerly the Settlers of Catan, which comes with an array of expansions, additions, and spin-offs. Before founding Catan, creator gained valuable experience as an independent game designer. Creating game worlds was his passion. Impressive portfolio board games, electronic games, which is now being carried on by his son Benjamin as a game designer. 40 languages since 1995 until now. Over 45 million games were sold worldwide. 20 million people regularly spend time in the Catan gaming universe. Ours is an ever-growing family of high-quality entertainment products and programs, all in keeping with a vision devoted to the cultivation of a vast and largely untapped community. Open world backdrop later motivate him to develop Catan? Maybe. Soon the ancient armies had left the game board and fought furious battles on the floor of the children's room, added new rules to the game, and is now convinced that the foundation stone for his later game developments was laid during this time. After graduating from high school and doing military service, he studied chemistry. After completing his intermediate diploma, he joined his father's dental laboratory for family reasons. To compensate for the often very stressful everyday working life, he began developing games in the early 80s. He founded the family business Catan GmbH, whose task is the development, marketing, and licensing of the games he has developed. You can find all his games in the ludography. Starting with Barbarossa up to the very latest Catan variants. We have also listed the digital adaptations and other important products from the world of Catan here. Simply select the desired period. Today, so this is the 2021 version of Catan. Ludography. A Game of Thrones revised edition Starfarers was released. Legend of the Conqueror's further exciting chapters of Catanian history has been implemented. I think maybe this is it. All you need is one win. All you need is one massive win, and then you kind of create your entire identity around that one thing. It's the same thing for everybody. It reminds me of Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday was a marketing blogger, and he would be writing out a bunch of stuff, and then he came across the Stoicism thing, kind of blew up, and then he made his identity. He's like, me and Stoicism are the same thing now. This is Catan from 2010, Endecker. This is Catan, Starfarers, Drunken Druber, and this is Barbarossa. Catan. Have Catan explained instead of reading the manual. Very cool. So there's this guy who explains you how to play Catan. Really interesting. Give me some quotes from the creator of Catan. We know ChatGPT is not good at this, or Claude is not good at this, but still, let's ask. What do we have? Notable quotes. On what sparked his love of games, recalling the game. He told NPR, when I opened the box of the game, I liked the scent of the game. Oh, so wonderful. On why he started designing games. Escape from his frustrating career. I had many problems with the company and the profession. I developed games to escape. On what makes Catan different. Teuber emphasized the cooperative spirit baked into the design, telling NPR, you cannot destroy someone's building. It's impossible. And you have to communicate. You cannot destroy someone's building. It's impossible. And you have to communicate. On going full time. He made the leap when I felt like Catan could feed me and my family. Catan could feed me and my family. I think this is big. This is big. Like in those times, being able to find, like being able to truly work on art, it was really hard. It was really hard. Today, it's much easier. Today, it's much easier. Today it's much easier. Let's see. On going full time, he left his gentle technician job in IT, explaining to the New Yorker that he made the leap when I felt like Catan could feed me and my family, on why Catan succeeded. When asked about the game's enduring popularity, Teuber suggested it might be due to a good balance between strategy and luck. On the creative drive, Teuber compared game design to other art forms, saying that, like a sculptor, writer, or painter, a game designer needs talent and expertise, but also the passionate feeling of wanting. On the creative drive, compared game design to other art forms, saying that, like a sculptor, writer, and painter, a game designer needs talent and expertise, but also the passionate feeling of wanting at all costs to bring a work to life that constantly demands to be completed. On his first inspiration, he created the fantasy trilogy The Riddle Master by Patricia McKillip as a spark for his very first game design. Like a sculptor, writer, or painter, a game designer needs talent and expertise, but also the passionate feeling of wanting at all costs to bring a work to life that constantly demands to be completed. On connecting with fans, said it was always a deeply rewarding moment when people contacted him or approached him at game fairs to thank him for the enjoyable hours his games had brought them. Aspiring game designers shouldn't aim for money because it's very rare for designers to earn a living from analog games alone. Who was humble, creative, and deeply motivated by the joy bringing people together around a table, not by commercial ambition. Incredible. Yes. 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 Tell me some interesting facts about the board game Catan. We'll ask Grok and see how Grok responds. Originally the settler of Catan's groundbreaking board game where players build settlements, trade resources, and compete for dominance on a modular hexagonal island. And I think, okay, so Grok has started adding photos, which is pretty cool. Dental technician turned game mogul. Klaus, German dental lab worker, created Catan in his basement starting in 91, inspired by Viking settlements in Iceland and Norway. Around 850 AD, he prototyped over 40 versions. Serif, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Over 40 versions, playtesting them weekly with his wife and kids before its 95 release by Cosmos in Germany. Won the prestigious Spiel des Jahres, the Oscars of board games. Whoa, 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 whoa. So, who has the latest Oscars of Jahres? Oh no. I wanted to trigger. Which board game won the Oscars of board? Which board game won the Oscars of board games last year? Dozier Spiel Prize, Essenor Feder, and Meeple's Choice Award. Massive commercial success. 45 million copies have been sold worldwide in more than 40 languages, making one of the best-selling board games ever, rivaling classics like Monopoly in cultural impact. Sales spiked during the 2020 pandemic as families sought at home entertainment. Simultaneous game involved 1,040 players at Germany's Spiel convention in 2015, beating a prior record of 922 in Indianapolis. Rebranding evolution. Settlers off to become simply Catan, with updated art and a portrait box. 6th edition launched in 2025 and it boasts over 100 expansion spin-offs. Star Trek Catan with dilithium resources and themed versions. Silicon Valley favorite tech moguls Mark Zuckerberg Reid Hoffman called it the new golf for networking. Its resource trading mirrors startup strategy. The Green Bay Packers even hold team building nights with it. 600 plus page novel by Rebecca Gabel. expands the lore. Netflix acquired film, TV rights, and 25 are potential adaptations, and it inspired parks and recreations, Cones of Dunshire. Anonymously online to stay sharp, he still does via family. He advised against early longest road pursuits and sadly passed away. Okay. Drawing players from 40 plus countries, a digital version debuted in 2021. Its random hexagonal board revolutionized Euro games, emphasizing strategy, trading, and minimal player elimination over luck-heavy American classics like Monopoly. Really interesting. Spiel the Jahres. Bomb Busters by Hisashi Hayashi, published by Pegasus Spiel. The winners of the Spiel des Jahres were announced in Berlin. So it seems like Berlin is the maker of, it's kind of the board games things. It's kind of the board games country. Kinderspiel des Jahres. Endeavor. Bomb Busters. Interesting. Wolfgang Forge. Very interesting. Okay, so now I looked into this. Tell me more about how Friedrich Nietzsche thought about putting Dionysian energy into an Apollonian form. Apollonian Dionysian in his early work, The Birth of Tragedy, drawing from Greek mythology and aesthetics to explain the origin and essence of art, particularly tragedy. These two forces represent opposing yet complementary impulses in human nature and creativity. The Apollonian embodies order, rationality, clarity, and form. Think of the god Apollo as a symbol of measured beauty. Like in sculpture, dreams with boundaries and illusions create a sense of harmony. In contrast, the Dionysian is chaotic, ecstatic, intuitive, and primal, associated with Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and excess, evoking the raw, intoxicating energy of music, dance, and the dissolution of individuality into a collective frenzy. Nietzsche's key insight was that great art, especially Attic tragedy, works by Aeschylus, and Sophocles, Aeschylus and Sophocles, arises from the synthesis of these forces, channeling the wild life affirming Dionysian energy into structured Apollonian form. This isn't just a balance, but a dynamic tension where the Dionysian provides the vital, irrational drive, and the Apollonian gives it shape to make it communicable and bearable. Without form, Dionysian energy could overwhelm and destroy. Without energy, Apollonian form becomes sterile and lifeless. The process of integration, describe this as a metaphysical miracle in Greek culture, where the Dionysian, the will or underlying chaos of existence, influenced by Schopenhauer's philosophies, tamed and elevated through Apollonian artistry. Dionysian as the core impulse. This is the boundless, suffering-infused reality of life, the eternal flux, pain, and ecstasy that humans experience. This is the boundless, suffering-infused reality of life, the eternal flux, pain, and ecstasy that humans experience. It's non-rational and tied to the body, instincts, and the subconscious. Nietzsche saw music, especially Wagner's operas at the time, as the purest Dionysian art because it directly evokes emotions without representation. Apollonian as the shaping vessel to confront this raw energy without madness. Humans impose form, narratives, images, and structures. In tragedy, the chorus. Dionysian expresses collective passion, while the dialogue and plot, Apollonian, provide individuation and illusion, allowing the audience to experience the abyss safely. Apollonian as the shaping vessel To confront this raw energy without madness. To confront this raw energy without madness, humans impose form, narratives, images, and structures. In tragedy, the chorus. Dionysian expresses collective passion while the dialogue and plot provide individuation and illusion, allowing the audience to experience the abyss safely. Suffering-infused reality of life, the eternal flux, pain, ecstasy that humans experience is not, it's non-rational, tied to the body, instincts, and the subconscious. Nietzsche saw music, especially Wagner's operas at the time, as the purest Dionysian art, because it directly evokes emotions without representation. Okay, I am curious, what is Wagner's art and Wagner's opera? We'll look into it. Wagner opera. Opera the Wagner. Okay. We'll look into it. It's German, alright. Purest Dionysian art because it directly evokes emotions without representation. Apollonian as the shaping vessel. This raw energy without madness, humans impose form, narratives, images, and structures. In tragedy, the chorus expresses collective passion while the dialogue and plot provide individuation and illusion, allowing the audience to experience the abyss safely. Synthesis in action, the result is a birth of tragedy from the spirit of music. For instance, in a play like Oedipus Rex, the Dionysian horror of fate and human frailty is packaged in Apollonian elements like poetic language, heroic figures, and dramatic structure. This union affirms life despite its terrors, leading to a cathartic, redemptive experience. Nietzsche argued that this fusion peaked in ancient Greece but declined in Socratic rationalism, which overemphasized Apollonian logic and suppressed the Dionysian. Broader implications in Nietzsche's thought. Later in his philosophy, thus spoke Zarathustra, and beyond good and evil, Nietzsche expanded this idea beyond art to life itself. He advocated for putting Dionysian energy into Apollonian form as a model for self-overcoming, embrace chaos and instincts, but master them through discipline and creation to become a higher type of human. This prefigures his concepts of the Übermensch and eternal recurrence. Übermensch. So I think it's also very interesting to understand, like, for the philosophers itself, like whose work today we admire, who have a body of work that we admire, like they are also developing their ideas chronologically. So if you think chronologically, then you would think that, okay, if this came for Dionysian and Apollonian, the balance of both of them, then what's the next idea? So obviously the Übermensch, if that came last, then Übermensch is taking up the elements of all this work and kind of bringing it all together. But again, we have to be careful. Last work doesn't always mean the best work. That's also true. Okay. Really cool. Beyond art to life itself, we advocated for putting Dionysian energy into Apollonian form as a model for self-overcoming, embrace chaos and instincts, but master them through discipline and creation to become a higher type of human. This prefigures his concepts of the Übermensch and eternal recurrence, where one affirms the full spectrum of existence by artistically shaping it. Nietzsche warned against imbalances. Pure Dionysian leads to barbarism. Pure Apollonian to decadence as in modern culture, which he critiqued as overly rational and nihilistic. His ideal was a Dionysian pessimism or joyful wisdom. Dionysian pessimism or joyful wisdom, harnessing primal vitality within beautiful illusory forms to create meaning in a godless world. Joyful wisdom, harnessing primal vitality within beautiful illusory forms to create meaning in a godless world. Dionysian pessimism. If you are interested in specific passages, yes, please. Find me the juice. Find me the juice here. What led Germany to be the creator of Oscars for board games? Is it just because Catan was born over there? Maybe. Maybe that's a reason. Quick question. Germany's board game culture is uniquely deep. Let me look into the history behind it. There's a fascinating convergence of cultural, historical, and economic factors that made Germany the natural home of the world's most influential board game award. A post-war cultural shift due in part to post-war aversion to products glorifying conflict, economy, and strategy games without direct warfare became popular in Germany. The award was created to celebrate board games in the German language, which had followed a mostly consistent trend of non-aggressive games, a reaction many scholars attribute to the years of war that had impacted the country. This created a distinctly German style of game design focused on resource management, clever mechanics, and indirect competition rather than combat, what we now call Eurogames. Resource management, clever mechanics, and indirect competition rather than combat. A divided country with limited digital entertainment, Germany was still split, and its ability and willingness to obtain things like arcade games was low, leading to a rise in the popularity of board games. While Americans were flocking to arcades, Germans were gathering around tables. A journalist's vision came up with the idea of establishing an annual board game award. He banded together with colleagues and created the Kritiker Spiel, the Jahres, Maple Mountain. Crucially, the goal was not to figure out what the objectively best game was, but to promote the cultural good of board gaming by awarding a Game of the Year. It worked spectacularly. For much of the 80s and 90s, it was almost a tradition to get gifted the Spiel Jahres winner from someone in the family. The recognizable logo on the box became a trusted buying signal for non-gamers shopping for gifts. A nomination can boost sales from 500 to 3,000 copies to around 10,000, and a winner can expect to sell as many as 500,000. Really cool. Unmatched gaming culture. Residents of Germany purchased more board games per capita than any other country as of 2009. And the cultural significance has been formally recognized. German board game culture has been designated an intangible cultural heritage per UNESCO guidelines. Post-war society channeling competitive energy into peaceful games, a lack of competing digital environment, a passionate group of critics who created a trusted institution and a virtuous cycle, where the award drove sales, which attracted better designers, which produced better games. Wow. What are some unintended consequences in culture, in economics, in how the society functions, due to the fact that Germany has a very vibrant board gaming culture? I'm really curious. It's beautiful to ask questions like this. Like, if they really bring about something very interesting, like, yeah, board games is massive over there, not in America. What is happening? Something interesting is happening. That's a really thought-provoking question. Let me dig into this a bit more. This is a question I find generally fascinating because the ripple effects go well beyond what the founders of the Spiel des Jahres could have imagined. Let me trace some of them. A quiet reprocessing of national identity. The most profound unintended consequence may be how board games gave post-war Germany a way to channel competitive energy without militarism. Due in part to post-war aversion to products glorifying conflict, games focused on resource management and competitive strategy to more peaceful means. What started as avoidance of a painful past gradually became a positive cultural identity. Wow. German board game culture has been formally designated as intangible cultural heritage per UNESCO guidelines in Thuringia. Spiel, War and Mess, Spirit of Play. Spiel des Jahres, Spirit of Games. Spiel des Jahres, board games recognized as cultural heritage, with the state secretary noting that people are creating identity and strengthening social cohesion in the region through this tradition. A taboo essentially birthed a new cultural export and source of national pride. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about this. Like, at the end of the day, it's all emotions. It's not about board game, how cool the game is. It's this emotion that there was a part of the world where they had they wanted to channel this war energy into something that was more peaceful. And instead of picking up swords or weapons, they chose board games. And it only worked in Germany. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. In economics, Germany accidentally built a global industry. Tabletop game sales in Germany were up 22% between January and mid-September 25 compared to the same period in 24, well above the 4% recorded for the wider toy industry. The Spiel, the Jahres created a virtuous cycle nobody planned. Post-war sales spikes, sometimes exceeding 200 to 500% for nominees, drive translations and distributions that amplify revenue for creators and distributors in non-German markets. Grokipedia. It's getting information on Grokipedia. Wow. The global board game market was estimated at 12 billion in 24 and expected to grow to 20.6 billion by 2034. Germany sits at the center of that ecosystem. German publishers are now seeing growth potential in Europe and North America, especially in France and the US. Reversing the flow and turning Germany into a cultural exporter. Meanwhile, the Essen Spiel Fair has become an economic engine for a city in a region that is not the richest in the country, creating demand for hotels, transit, and services that local government struggles to meet. The fair is in conversation with the local council about more accommodation and parking, but financial pressures make those projects hard to prioritize. Wow. Alongside schools and kindergartens, the board game convention is now competing with basic infrastructure for municipal investment. In social fabric, board games as a cross-class, cross-generation glue. Federal Statistical Office suggests that board gaming is an expression of the leisure culture of the middle of German society. Men and women, rich and poor, young and old, everyone plays. Unlike many hobbies that stratify by income, education, or age, board gaming in Germany cuts across demographic lines. Germany represents a culture in which the board games constitute a central pillar of social life. And interestingly, personality traits did not strongly predict board game habits among Germans the way they did in Denmark, suggesting that in Germany gaming is so normalized that it's not a niche personality driven activity but simply something everyone does. In design philosophy, an accidental export of values. The Eurogame design principles, no player elimination, into a conflict, everyone stays engaged until the end, spread worldwide, and many titles now receive international distribution and acclaim. These mechanics quietly encode a social philosophy that competition should be constructive, that nobody should be knocked out and forced to sit and watch, and that there should be multiple paths to success. When millions of Americans sit down to play Catan or Ticket to Ride, they are absorbing design values shaped by Germany's specific historical trauma without anyone intending that as a cultural export. Wow. No player elimination, indirect conflict. Everyone stays engaged until the end, spread worldwide. Competition should be constructive, and nobody should be knocked out, forced to sit and watch, and there should be multiple paths to success. Very cool, very cool, very cool, very cool, very cool. It's a way for you to export your culture. The design philosophy, you are creating people, you're helping people adapt this philosophy. Wow. The brick and mortar paradox. One ironic, unintended consequence: while the industry grows, brick and mortar retail is falling. We're able to drive people into physical shops. Online sales for board games now exceed 40% of the market. Undermining the specialty shops that nurtured the hobby. A counterweight to digital isolation. Perhaps the most surprising unintended consequence is contemporary. The interest in board games appears to be a retaliation against the ubiquity of digital media, while people looking for more engaged in social activities as they become more isolated by technology. I think this is a very isolated by technology is a very interesting idea, because yes, this didn't exist before. This is not how things used to happen before. People used to have lots of parties. People used to have lots of events. People used to come together a lot. Very interesting. Germany's half-century investment in analog gaming infrastructure, cafes, clubs, conventions, a deep catalog of quality games means the country was uniquely well positioned to offer an antidote to smartphone era loneliness long before anyone knew what would be needed. A handful of journalists trying to get Germans to buy better Christmas gifts in 78 ended up shaping global entertainment, creating a UNESCO recognized cultural tradition, building a multi-billion-dollar industry, and accidentally designing a social technology for combating isolation in the digital age. Really cool. Really cool. Tell me more about it's interesting because we don't know how we don't even remember how the world looked like without technology. How did the world look like without technology? Were people not isolated before smartphones and social media? Again, we started this cold plunge thing. I think we'll also look into the bathhouse culture that is popping up recently. But bathhouses, sauna, cold plunge. It's amazing again because these are modern. So these are like the what do we call that? Sanity? It's not sanity. They're much safer and they are much nicer. So the modern bathhouses are much better than the older bathhouses, the Roman bathhouses. The difference is that again, I think again it's very simple because every single day, if you care about your health, you kind of want to enter into a space where you are putting your body through you're doing some sort of meditation, you're putting your body through some sort of heat and cold mechanism to wake it up. Some people do cold showers, some people just do sauna after the workouts, after gym, some people do steam rooms. So it's a very normal thing. Now, in the modern bathhouses, the beautiful thing is that has kind of become a standard for also socialization. Like for me, I really love that. That has kind of become a really good baseline for socialization, that every single day I can go over there, I can meet all different varieties of people. And the sauna is perfect because all they do is sauna. So their sauna is amazing. And then they also have cold plunge. Cold plunge is amazing. Today we did 3 minutes and I dunked my head in there. So it was amazing. It was amazing. It's crazy. I also had this person and it does make sense. Like when you have never dunked your head inside the cold plunge, you think it's hard. But once you do it, you're like, this is how it's done. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like this is what you need. You need people around you who are pushing you. You need people around you who are supporting you. And it's a very social activity and you are meeting a lot of people. All you do sitting in a sauna is kind of you start conversations and you talk to people and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. It's a beautiful environment. Sometimes if you are looking for much more aesthetic, you are looking for much more beauty in your life, I think this is a great place to find beauty. They are very well designed. The music, a lot of silence as well. Beauty and silence both are important. You don't really want beautiful places in beautiful environment where you feel inspired, where you feel aesthetically stimulated, but you also have silence. You don't have your phone. You keep your phone out there. So for at least 1.5 hours, at least for 2 hours, you don't have your phone. So you are just there. You are just there and you're just sitting, you're hanging out, you are walking around, you can write, you can do other stuff, but that's a really good solid time that gives you a break. That okay, can you for 1 hour, can you for 2 hours just give a break to everything that you're doing and just sit down, maybe socialize. Again, great for socialization because there are no phones in there. Way better than bars. And then again, for bars and stuff, if you meet someone interesting over there, you can, like today I met this one person and she invited me. She's like, hey, we are going to do this another run with another group. Do you want to join? I'm like, perfect, let's make it happen. So great baseline for human connection. And I think this is actually a good one. I'll write this down. I'm actually right now writing all the reasons why I like this place, because I think it's a very multiple facet thing. It's a very multiple facet thing. human connection without any technology, in total absence of technology. You can't find that anywhere else. Beauty and silence. Beauty and silence. Human connection. And yeah, great baseline for human connection. Great baseline for human connection. If you just want to go every single day over there and meet and talk and hang out with people, amazing. And I think one more thing is for me is like, it gives me motivation to go to the gym, because that's a place where you are going to be walking around in just your swim shorts, in just your sauna shorts. So that is kind of a really good motivation for me to be like, okay, I gotta work on this body. I gotta improve my body now. So that's a really solid motivation. I love that. Okay, you're right to push back on that. The story is much messier than smartphones broke everything. The honest answer is that media reports convey that loneliness is on the rise, but the empirical evidence is mixed. At least before the COVID-19 pandemic, the pre-digital world wasn't some golden age of togetherness. People were isolated in different ways, by geography, by rigid social hierarchies, by gender roles that confined women to domestic spaces, by the stigma around mental illness that kept people suffering in silence. A farmer in rural Kansas in 950 could go weeks without meaningful conversation with anyone outside his family. An elderly widow, an elderly widow in a German apartment in 1975 could be profoundly alone with no one checking on her. Wow. I think this is it. Sauna, bathhouses, the most simplest thing. Meditation, beauty, silence. Meditation and journaling and creative thinking. Obviously, the hot and cold contrast makes you feel a certain way. I also absolutely love, yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm sitting in the sauna. I'm like, I want to push myself. I want to push myself. I have a certain thing that, okay, now I'm in the sauna for too long. Now it's time to go to the cold plunge. Now it's time to like, now it's time to like push yourself. So that is beautiful. But I think this is incredibly, this is a really big human connection in total absence of technology. Great baseline for socialization for with people in a beautiful space. And this one. All right, we'll look into that. Actually, let me. What has led to the rise in modern bathhouses? Rise in or rise off? Let's see, rise off. Okay. What changes the texture of isolation, not necessarily the amount. Variables related to objective social isolation, such as living alone and time spent alone, have increased in the past half century, but it's less clear whether loneliness, the subjective feeling, has risen as well. And the causes are tangled. One recent study found that social isolation has increased sharply over the past 2 decades, accelerating since the mid 2010s, but smartphones alone cannot explain these changes, with generational differences and aging contributing to isolation. There's also a chicken and egg problem that research keeps bumping into. An early review supported two opposing hypotheses. Loneliness may be a product of excessive internet use because users invest in online relationships at the expense of real life ones, or alternatively, lone individuals may be drawn to online activities because they offer connectedness and companionship. Are phones making people lonely, or are lonely people reaching for phones? Are phones making people lonely, or are lonely people reaching for phones? Yes, 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 yes. Invest in physical relationships. Not just. Oh, it's just like how we got a third place. It's a great third place. You always need third places, third space. Is it third space or third place? Whatever. But yeah, you need the first one, which is your work. Second one, which is, sorry, first one, right, is home. Second is work. Third, and then you need a third space. It's space, third space. And for me, my work and my home are the same. So that's the reason why we have a gym, and then we have a bathhouse. We have a bathhouse. We have a cold plunge spot. And the causes are tangled. One recent study found that social isolation has increased sharply over the past 2 decades, accelerating since the mid-2010s, but smartphones alone cannot explain these changes. The teen data is more striking. Teen loneliness increased between 2012 and 2018 in 36 out of 37 countries around the world, which just correlated with smartphone adoption, but even there, the casuality is debated. So what actually changed? Several things happened simultaneously that have nothing to do with phones. Urbanization, fragmented extended families. More people live alone than at any point in human history. Communities organized around churches, unions, and civic clubs have been hollowing out since well before the iPhone. Robert Putnam was writing about this in Bowling Alone back in 2000, documenting decades of declining civic participation. Longer work hours, longer commutes, more geographic mobility, all of these dissolved the kinds of third places. It's third place, not third space. Third space. Third spaces. Third places. At third places. It's not spaces, it's places. Okay. Where people used to run into each other naturally. I'm also coming across this book a lot. What technology did was make the structural isolation feel different. In the old world, if you were isolated, you were simply alone. Now you can be surrounded by the appearance of connection, scrolling through other people's curated lives, while feeling even more acutely that your own social needs aren't met. The loneliness isn't new, the contrast is. And here's what makes your question connect back to Germany's board game culture. The interesting thing isn't that board games are an antidote to smartphone caused loneliness. Is that Germany happened to build over decades an unusually robust infrastructure for the kind of social interaction that has been eroding everywhere for many reasons. Face-to-face, intergenerational, structured but playful. Whether the erosion comes from suburbanization, from aging populations, from economic pressures, or from screens, the need for that kind of infrastructure is real. Germany didn't predict the problem. They just happened to have something that turned out to be useful. Tell me the key takeaways from this book. Robert Putnam's Bowling Alone, let's see. We'll end this one. The Collapse and Revival of American Community, 2000, is one of the most influential works of social science in recent decades. Here are the key ideas, the core thesis. Americans have been steadily withdrawing from civic and communal life since roughly the mid-60s. Putnam uses the concept of social capital, the networks of relationships, norms of reciprocity, and trust that arise from community engagement, and argues that America's stock of it has been in serious decline. The evidence. The title comes from a striking fact: more Americans were bowling than ever. Withdrawing from civic and communal life since roughly the mid-60s, Putnam uses the concept of social capital, the networks of relationships, norms of reciprocity, and trust that arise from community engagement, and argues that America's stock of it has been in serious decline. More Americans were bowling than ever, but bowling league membership had collapsed. That's a metaphor for a broader pattern. Putnam documents declines across nearly every form of civic participation: voter turnout, attendance at public meetings, membership in clubs and organizations, Elks, Rotary, PTA, Union, church groups, dinner parties with friends, even casual socializing like having people over. He draws on enormous data sets, survey research spanning decades to show that this isn't just one or two indicators but a consistent pattern across American life. What caused it? Putnam identifies several culprits, roughly in order of importance. The single biggest factor is generational change. The civic-minded generation that came of age during the Depression and World War II, what we now call the greatest generation, was being replaced by less engaged cohorts. Television is the second major factor. Putnam argues it privatized leisure time, turning people inward toward their living rooms. He wrote this book in 2000, so he's talking on television. If he wrote that in 2025, he'll be talking about smartphones. He'll be talking about VR goggles. Putnam argues it privatized leisure time, turning people inward toward their living rooms and away from community spaces. Suburban sprawl and longer commutes are ate into the time available for socializing. Two career families left less time for volunteering and civic engagement. These forces compounded each other. What it matters for. This is where the book gets ambitious. Putnam argues that social capital isn't just nice to have, it's functionally important. Communities with higher social capital have better schools, lower crime, better health outcomes, more effective government, and even stronger economic performance. Putnam argues that social capital isn't just nice to have, it's functionally important. Communities with higher social capital have better schools, lower crime, better health outcomes, more effective government, and even stronger economic performance. When people stop joining things and knowing their neighbors, the consequences aren't just personal loneliness, they are institutional decay. Trust between strangers erodes, cooperation becomes harder, and the informal mechanisms that make communities actually work start to break down. Social capital isn't just nice to have, it's functionally important. Communities with higher social capital have better schools, lower crime, better health outcomes, more effective government, and even stronger economic performance. When people stop joining things and knowing their neighbors, the consequences aren't just personal loneliness, they are institutional decay. Trust between strangers erodes, cooperation becomes harder, and the informal mechanisms that make communities actually work start to break down. The distinction between types of social capital. Putnam draws an important line between bonding social capital, ties with homogeneous groups, your church, your ethnic community, your close friends, and bridging social capital, ties that cross social divides, knowing people different from you both matter, but bridging capital is particularly important for a functioning democracy and a cohesive society, and it's the kind that was declining most sharply. What he got right in the lasting debates. The book essentially predicted the fragmentation and polarization that would accelerate in the 2 decades after it was published. The decline of bridging institutions, places where people of different backgrounds actually encountered each other, left a vacuum that partisan media and online echo chambers filled. Critics have argued that Putnam was too nostalgic for the civic life of the 50s, while excluded many people, that he undervalued new forms of association community, and that he overemphasized individual choices rather than structural economic forces like inequality and deindustrialization that hollowed out communities. He moaned were often exclusionary, segregated, male-dominated, class-bound. The connection to what we have been discussing. These were structures that create regular, repeated, face-to-face interaction among people who might not otherwise seek each other out. Yes, face-to-face interaction. Daily face-to-face interactions with multiple people in total absence of technology. It's perfect third place. I think I might write an article on why modern bathhouses are the perfect third places. Especially for me. Yoga, stretching, journaling. I think we should write all of that stuff too. Creative thinking and yoga and stretching. Undervalued new forms of association and community. Actually, let me look into what we can bring tomorrow. So tomorrow we have Samedi. Tomorrow. Really cool, really cool. I can't wait to go to this comp spot. I think I'll slowly start going to the after hours, the nighttime ones, because yeah, right now I'm just too excited. I keep going early, super early, because I'm like, I just gotta go there. What makes Putnam relevant to the Germany conversation is its insight that social connection doesn't just happen spontaneously. It requires infrastructure. Exactly the kind of infrastructure. It's not that Germans are inherently more social, it's that they are built. What are the best third places? Mm-mm-mm. What would Robert Putnam say are the best ways how modern society has found face to face interactions? I don't know if that question makes sense, but that's the job of AI. Good question. Has continued writing and speaking about this since Bowling Alone. Let me see what he said. By the way, Bowling Alone is a really good title. Bowling Alone is a really good title. Putnam wouldn't frame it as here are the best apps for meeting people. His framework is more structural. He thinks about conditions. What conditions make face-to-face interaction likely to happen repeatedly, almost by default. The key insight: connection needs to be a byproduct, not the goal. Not the goal. Connection needs to be a byproduct, not the goal. Okay. The most effective social capital builders in Putnam's view aren't places people go to make friends. They are places where people go for some other reason: to work, to worship, to learn, to play. To work, to worship, to work, to worship, to learn, to play. And connection happens as a side effect. So to work, okay, you're going to office. To worship, you're going to church. To learn, you're going to school. You're going to a class. To play, you are going to a garden. You're going to a league. You're going to every other place. And connection happens as a side effect. The old bowling league worked not because people loved bowling, but because it created a regular, low stakes reason to show up at the same place with the same people week after week. The repetition is what builds trust. What he found actually works. After publishing Bowling Alone, Putnam worked through these Guaro seminar meetings among academic, civil society leaders, and politicians to identify strategies to reconnect Americans with their communities. This resulted in the book Better Together in 2003, which provides case studies of vibrant and new forms of social capital building in the United States. The report examined social capital across 5 categories: the workplace, youth and education, arts and culture, religion and faith, and government and politics. Isanguro seminar co-chair Law Feilstein captured Putnam's philosophy memorably. We need to look at front porches as crime-fighting tools, treat picnics as public health efforts, and see choral groups as occasions of democracy. Robert T. Putnam. He's posting on WordPress. Strengthening influence of spiritual faith, more artistic activism. Changing curriculum size and goals of school, overhauling business practices. Really cool. We need to look at front porches as crime-fighting tools, treat picnics as public health efforts. Some of the specific domains has pointed to redesigning physical spaces. Urban planners need to build neighborhoods that increase social interactions while reducing commute times. Live, work, play developments in walkable neighborhoods. Live, work, play. Live, work, play. Initiatives like more parks and vegetation have the added benefit of creating spaces for people to gather, and mixed-use housing places amenities in a central location adjacent to homes, solving the problem of suburbs physically distancing all of life's activities. This is essentially an argument that you can engineer and counter into people's daily routines. Smaller schools, mandatory service learning. The Saguro seminar called for service learning to be a mandatory part of each year's middle and high school schedule, along with smaller schools and classes, more public funding for after school activities, and putting young people on community boards and advisory communities. The logic here is that you build the habit of civic participation early, and smaller settings force people to actually know each other rather than drift through anonymously. Arts and culture as a bridge. In examining the role of arts and culture institutions, the seminar outlined principles to transform patrons into participants, seeing the arts as a tool to cross cultural divides by bringing music, theatre, and art to those outside their natural audience. This is about bridging capital, getting people who wouldn't normally encounter each other into the same room. Churches with a caveat. Putnam points out that churches remain some of the country's strongest social capital creators, but admits they tend to focus on uniting people under one religious roof rather than connecting across different faiths. He also notes that for the growing non-religious population, organizations like Sunday Assembly, the Oasis Network, and the Black non-believers offer ways to build social capital outside of faith-based communities. The underlying point is that regular congregating with a shared sense of purpose is enormously powerful, but the most valuable forms are those that bridge rather than merely bond. The internet as supplement, not substitute. When updating the book, okay. Online networks are most effective at creative social capital when used as a binding supplement to traditional networks in the real world. He's not anti-technology, but he's skeptical that digital connection alone builds the kind of trust that makes communities function. The workplace as an untapped civic space. This is one of the less obvious areas. Putnam sees workplaces as potentially one of the last remaining is one of the less obvious areas. Putnam sees workplaces as potentially one of the last remaining places where people of different backgrounds regularly encounter each other. When workplaces invest in creating genuine community, not just team building exercises, but actual shared purpose and socializing, they generate bridging capital that's otherwise increasingly rare. What's striking about Putnam's framework is that there's no silver bullet. The documentary Join or Die, based on his work, boils his message down to why you should join a club and why the fate of America depends on it. It's almost absurdly simple. The point isn't what you join: a choir, a board game group, a garden club, a running group, a volunteer fire department. It's that you show up regularly, face to face, with the same people, doing something together. The specific activity is almost beside the point. The repetition is everything. Yeah. The repetition is everything. And how do you do something hard? Yes, how do you do something hard that also helps you? Yes. I think gym obviously is amazing. Like working out, it's obviously amazing, but I've kind of lost motivation in the gym because because my work and my home is in the same place. I'm looking for connection, and gym wasn't giving me the connection. I'm not still able to connect with people and talk to people. So this new place gave me the connection, and now I can go to gym because now I can be like, okay. And now I actually have made some friends in the gym, so it's kind of fun. It's actually fun. And they work in the gym, so it's much easier because you see them every single day. The repetition is everything, which brings us full circle to Germany's board game culture. It's not the board games are uniquely magical, it's that they check every one of Putnam's boxes. They require physical presence, they create a reason to show up repeatedly, they work across age and class lines, and the connection is a byproduct of doing something fun together rather than the stated purpose. Several converging cultural and economic forces are driving the modern bathhouse boom, a craving for real-world connection. The core value proposition rests on two realities: hot and cold therapies deliver proven health benefits, and people are increasingly stressed and lonely, seeking in-person social experiences. For a generation that grew up online, going analog and communal feels almost radical. Younger consumers are trading screen time for Steam time. Screen time for Steam time. Wow. Seeking This is it. Like Claude is very poetic, trading screen time for steam time, seeking not just detox but genuine human connection. Genuine human connection, big one. That's a big one. Declining alcohol culture. Gallup analytics found that only 54% of Americans say they drink alcohol frequently, the lowest figure 90 years of tracking, and roughly 60% of Gen Z and millennials prefer alcohol free nights out. Modern bathhouses are stepping in as appealing alternatives to bars and nightclubs, places where socializing revolves around wellness rather than drinking, the broader wellness economy. The global wellness market is projected to reach 9 trillion by 28, and investor interest has followed with concepts like Othership raising an 11 million Series B to expand across the US. Wow. Social wellness clubs and self-care becomes social, the boom of modern bathhouses. Othership is actually doing a great job. I have seen their location in Williamsburg and they've done a great job. They're doing a great job at the aesthetics. Beautiful. Expand its modern bathhouse concept across the US, counting a variety of health focused and consumer wellness VC funds and investors such as Rokana, FIDE, Urban Ventures. The initial facility in Toronto has completely blown away even our most optimistic expectations for number of users per week, EBITDA, and overall performance. We know the model works, we know Othership has product market fit, and we know other cities around North America will passionately embrace this offering. Now is the time to scale. Wow. The initial facility in Toronto has completely blown away even our most optimistic expectations. Remedy Place followed a similar trajectory, raising 5 million in 22 at a 60 million valuation, backed by celebrity investors including DJ Z, NFL player Mercedes Lewis, and the band Rufus the Soul, founded by Jonathan Leary. Doctor with a degree in chiropractic and alternative medicine, Remedy Place reimagines holistic care by placing social connection at its heart, help individuals feel better and more connected to their bodies, minds, and each other. Wow. More connected to your body, mind, and each other. Bodies, minds, the first location opened in LA before expanding to NYC, offering a blend of remedies including breathwork, ice bath classes, oxygen chambers, massages, red light therapy, acupuncture, and IV drips. Okay, so it seems like Remedy Place is much more expensive. Both companies are targeting saturated metropolitan markets such as Flatiron, Soho, West Hollywood, aiming to reach every major US city. Currently operates 3 locations with the Boston opening imminent, while Othership launch in Canada with 2 locations before establishing a 7,000 square foot Flatiron sanctuary and a recent Williamsburg outpost. Yes, I've seen the Williamsburg outpost. Flatiron. Their core demographic is urbanites aged 28 to 45, looking to optimize their health while staying social. Recently, it seems that the NYC-based locations have attracted the likes of bankers and tech pros. Women looking to indulge in self-care while being immersed in a relaxing and sleek atmosphere. 400 people daily, tapping into a city where stress, loneliness, and social hunger converge. With the altar opening soon in Flatiron with a vision of health as a cultural gathering place, the trend is spreading internationally. The Arc offers community-driven contrast therapy in London, while Paris will welcome its first social wellness sanctuary in early 2026. Wow, look at this. This is Remedy, I think. Founded by Jules, the Parisian concept called Sans Roc came as a realization to him when analyzing market dynamics. First came high impact workouts, followed by low impact studios, and there is now a third phase moving beyond fitness toward recuperation and longevity. Athletes, biohackers, individuals obsessed with optimizing biomarkers, and self-care enthusiasts alike feature ice baths and saunas designed to promote both self-care and social interaction, complemented by a tea room and a lounge area. Wellness real estate is one of the fastest growing segments. Modern bathhouses blending health and community and transforming self-care into shared social experiences, boosted by social sobering trend. They are emerging as an alternative to alcohol-centric gatherings. New nightclub spaces where self-care meets. The new nightclubs. Slowly reshaping how we socialize, driven by millennials' thirst for the wellness market, which is projected to reach 9 trillion. Proving the product market fit is present and the opportunity sizable, the movement has attracted new investors from the tech and health sector who recognize a behavioral shift, with staying power funding pioneers such as Othership or Remedy Place in US, slowly hinting that new such venues might soon turn from niche to mainstream. Finland, Norway, Turkey are designed for relaxation and self-care. New York welcomed Air Ancient Baths back in 2011, while Los Angeles is home to popular V Spa, operating for over a decade. What distinguishes this new wave is their studio-like design, structured classes, community events, and social lounges. Millennials and Gen X are seeking spaces that blend community, emotional regulation, and state change in one experience. Blend community, emotional regulation, and state change into one experience, a shift that social wellness clubs are uniquely positioned to meet. The numbers tell a compelling story. It's among the fastest growing segments of the booming wellness market and will reach nearly 1 trillion. Thermal and mineral springs alone represent 70 billion plus market, with more than 30,000 facilities worldwide, indicating serious demand and market viability. Hot and cold therapies deliver proven health benefits. Craving in real life social experiences, the intersection of health and social connection forms the core value proposition behind concepts. And the Bathhouse in the US, with New York City leading the charge. The primary focus is contrast therapy, alternating between hot saunas and ice baths, with certain venues also offering treatments including functional medicine or IV therapy. Shared, not isolating, these modern venues are all focused on placing community and socialization at the center. Much like the original cultural roots of these practices, Turkish hammams and Finnish saunas have always served as places of cultural gathering. Places of cultural gathering, yes. While in Scandinavian countries, saunas remain an ordinary part of daily life, meant to be enjoyed as a group. The timing of this modern revival isn't a coincidence. Othership and Remedy Place raised capital right after the pandemic, while other venues joining in this year. Economic uncertainty, persistent stress, wellness as a shared experience fills a void. Naturally compatible with social engagement, cold plunges boost adrenaline, while saunas decrease the stress hormone cortisol, fostering relaxation, appearing set to create the perfect mindset and energy to socialize with fellow visitors. The premise of our offering is that people are open-minded and join, specifically to interact and build connections. So connection is at the heart of it. Social connection is at the heart of it. The social focus shines through Othership as well, and product design for Othership specializes in wellness and retail and hospitality. Her experience working with Othership reflects wellness evolution from isolated luxury to inclusive gathering. The new wave of wellness feels more open, expressive, and collective. The older model was about retreat and luxury, stepping away from life to recharge. However, before that, we had community bathing and sacred rituals that brought humans together daily. What's emerging now is more in that vein, is about integration. As a creative mind behind Othership's merchandising, Powers focus on amplifying the emotions felt at the venue and extending that sense of peace home through candles, incense, or functional body fragrances. I'm always trying to create a sense of warmth and aliveness. These days, the industry we are referring to as wellness can sometimes feel very overly curated, but I'm more drawn to what feels honest and soulful. The values circle back to a connection, care, and curiosity. How well designed products can make someone feel both grounded and inspired. Wow. It's amazing to read about from them. Because it's all these things you feel all these things. Othership sells a selection of rituals, incense, essential oils, wooden gua shas, and herbal teas, all developed to offer guests an opportunity to extend the experience at home. With the essential oils market poised to grow at a CAGR of 10%. Home fragrance market is in continuous boom since the pandemic, creating products and scents meant to unlock soothing benefits and offer a moment of self-care at home is definitely a relevant play. Merchandising is just one diversification avenue. Is Othership planning a Vancouver location? Let's see. No confirmed plan for Vancouver yet. 2 in Toronto, 2 in New York. Expansion. New York, Chicago, Boston, Washington, Miami. Expanding aggressively, but the near-term focus is the US. Eventually open Othership spaces in every major North American city, so Vancouver is very plausible but not publicly announced yet. Tech plus creative crowd similar to NYC in Toronto. Strong, super curious wellness nightlife, expensive city where 50 to 100 experiences are normal. Little constraint is real estate. Othership spaces are usually 5,000, 10,000 square feet with heavy plumbing plus sauna infrastructure. Mount Pleasant, Yaletown, Olympic Village, Gastown, Railtown. Tech, design, wellness crowd overlaps. Calm contrast, Nordic sauna culture, cold plunge clubs, breathwork collective, social wellness events. What are the top Othership alternatives in Vancouver? You got Tiva, but a few places orbit the same. Okay, so we got calm contrast. Okay. Closest cultural cousin to Othership in Vancouver. Nordic inspired. Design forward, intimate, focus on contrast therapy rituals. Guided sauna session, small group experience, minimalist, Scandinavian aesthetic. Quiet, design minded, thoughtful. Think Nordic temple, not a party. Mount Pleasant. Tality. Tality is cool, but you want that nighttime peaceful energy. Biohacker leaning recovery club. Infrared saunas, red light therapy, recovery tools. More performance longevity focused than social. Typical crowd, athletes, founders, people tracking HRV and Aura Ring. Circle wellness. I've heard about Circle. Interesting. Private hot cold spa circuits, outdoor tubs plus sauna. Why people go couple, small groups, quiet retreats, more Japanese onsen garden retreat than social club. Okay, so it's not really social. Hastings. Oh no. A legacy bathhouse. Scandinavian spa whistler. This is what we're talking about. Now, Vancouver, worth mentioning, where people go huge Nordic spa style and relaxation outdoor hot cold circuits. Has landed yet guided breathwork rituals, sauna, DJs, big social lounge, 400 people, daily traffic, alcohol-free nightlife. Vancouver still has pieces of the puzzle rather than the full machine. Yoga studios, boutique fitness, recovery, social wellness clubs. Vancouver is between step 3 and 4 right now. Tell me about Toronto. Let's see. Oh no, not Toronto. Don't tell me about Toronto. Tell me about culture of the world in one city. Half the population was born outside Canada. Koreatown, Chinatown, Greektown, Little India, Caribbean neighborhoods. Fast, ambitious, finance, corporate, nightlife heavy, early mornings, mountains, dense urban energy. Concerts, theater, sports, festivals, art shows, strange modern twist, social wellness. What are the top modern bathhouses in Toronto? Let's see. Basically, ground zero for modern bathhouse movement in North America. Finance workers stress cold winters. So Othership is number 1. Looks nice. Massive. The flagship of the entire trend. Founded in Toronto. To contrast to a social ritual experience. Meditation theater and nightclub without alcohol. Tech founders, creators, finance professionals, and wellness enthusiasts. Alter. High-end contrast therapy studio. Sauna, cold plunge, breathwork, meditation, compared to Othership. Quieter, more introspective, less theatrical. Wellness studio. Longevity house. Way smaller. Biohacking style recovery club. Services include ice baths, infrared sauna, compression therapy, red light therapy, pop-up sauna experiences. Whoa, okay. World capital of social wellness clubs. Boutique. Fitness exploded. Recovery culture grew. Someone realized recovery could be social. Othership turned it into an experience economy. Are copying the model. Why it works so well in Toronto? Cold climate, sauna culture naturally fits winter cities. High stress professionals, dense urban neighborhoods. Fun fact, some venture investors believe social wellness clubs could become the next 10 billion hospitality category, somewhere between boutique gyms, spas, and nightclubs. Interesting. What are the top 10 best third places in the modern society? Social environment that is neither home nor work. The best ones act like social glue. They quietly generate friendships, ideas, collaborations, and even companies. In modern cities, the strongest third places tend to fall into few repeatable archetypes. Coffee houses, the original intellectual engine. Historically, Enlightenment thinkers were in coffee houses, newspapers were born there, revolutions were planned there. Today, they remain ideal because they are cheap, open-ended, socially flexible. Vienna cafes, Blue Bottle, specialty cafes, Vancouver's Mount Pleasant cafe scene. Vancouver's Mount Pleasant cafe scene. Tell me about it. Social wellness clubs, rapidly emerging category. Sauna, cold plunge, breathwork, social lounges. They work because people are relaxed with Aloud, which makes conversation easy. Othership, remedy, arc. Alcohol-free nightclubs of the future. Parks and public squares. I just want to see what Arc looks like. The Arc, London. Wow. That's what we're talking about. Sauna immersion community. That's what we're talking about. This is the lounge area. Wow. Ice bath lab and a social club quietly fused into one subterranean cave of heat, cold, and conversation. First large-scale social sauna concept. 65-person communal sauna, largest in the UK. 8 ice baths, chilled to about 1 to 8 degrees. Cold trigger circulation, mood elevation, and stress reduction. Peak performance recoveries, sleep reset, arc after dark. Arc after dark. After hours, after dark. Arc after dark. Design interior looks like a sculptural cave, terracotta tiles, cedar wood, low atmospheric lighting, amphitheater style lounge for hanging out. The sauna is the new pub. It's intentionally halfway between Nordic Bathhouse and nightclub. Intro pack $49 for 3 sessions, single class about $29, which is not bad. Expansion plans, additional locations, a bigger shift, old social hubs, bars, clubs, pubs, wellness spaces. It's a rise of social wellness clubs. Wow. The Arc. Look at the branding. Oh my god. Yeah. Crazy. Lookbook about newsletter. Fashion garments of historical nature, including ready-to-wear, haute couture, runway accessories. Oh wait, this is the wrong Arc. Oh no. What did you just show me? The Arc London. More links. That Arc was also pretty cool. The logo was pretty sick. Alliance Buxana Arc community. This is it. Massive space. They're drinking in there. Shifting states. So this is very inspired. This is very similar to what we have, but very cool. Like the experience cannery. Okay, so you can't go anywhere from here. Where do you go? Reduce stress. Discover the Arc experience with our intro pack. Find out more. Book on the go with our app. Nice branding. So we got the experience. This is the experience. Okay. This towel thing is very contrast therapy, hot and cold. Oscillating between intense heat and cold exposure to activate the body's natural stress and relaxation responses. Holistic practice with sound healing techniques to gently usher you from mind-centered state into a deep body awareness, facilitating somatic healing and resetting our nervous system. Okay, we got the ice baths, we got the lounge, and we got the sauna. Transcend, engage, connect. Guided class, free flow, evening social. The benefits: sauna, relaxation, you got cold immersion, you got community, Supporting wellness goals, personal growth, collective healing in a positive, energizing environment. This is beautiful. You got Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf, what is that? Contrast repeats the heart of Canary Wharf. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is what you need. You need beauty. You need beauty around you. Amazing. And then you got shop. Obviously you got a shop over here. By the way, if you look at, I think it's very funny. If you go to superpower.com, superpower.com, yes, it's called superpower, yes. Very similar colors. Superpower has, it's also interesting, Superpower, they mention like how as Superpower was growing, they went from less artistic to more corporate style, because that's what you gotta do. But earlier they were more on this, yeah, they were really into this beautiful aesthetic design. Yeah, I recommend Superpower as the leading health tech super app. See for yourself. Okay. Grok. As a health conscious individual, I want to know how Superpower can benefit me. Summarize the highlights from Superpower. Oh, that's what you do. Affordable pricing, $70 per month. Can I use it if I'm based in Vancouver? US states only. Okay, so we can use it. This is cool. What companies have started to do. Okay, what is this? This is Superpower Assistant, powered by Lori Keat. Okay. Superpower Chief Longevity Officer. Okay. Concierge MD. Best-selling author Robert Lufkin. What could cost you $15,000 at $199? Billed annually. What's included in your membership? You got all data in one place, upload past lab data, personalized health plan, unlimited concierge messaging, add-on testing anytime, access to Superpower Clinic. Okay. And obviously this keeps going. Instructor at Soul Cycle. Okay. What no doctor supplement or app ever get clarity? If you're tired of vague advice and want real insight into your body, it's worth it. What do you risk for diabetes, elevated heart rate, the speed of aging? Max Marchioni, that's the founder. Biological age, you got Superpower score. You got your biomarkers. No wait time, simple and convenient. The orange color of Superpower. Really cool. So Mount Pleasant became a cafe hub. Thinkers, freelancers, artists, and cafe-empowered dreamers. undergone strong gentrification since 1990s, becoming a magnet for creatives and young professionals. Craft breweries, indie shops, studios, creative population, artists, designers, filmmakers, startup workers, walkable main street, corridor, strong local roasting culture, laptop culture, the vibe, designers editing in Figma, film industry freelancers between shoots, founders pitching ideas over oat, cappuccinos, artists sketching near the window, friends meeting before yoga or run, simply get out of the house, making cafe central in neighborhood life. They act as third places, neither home nor office, signature cafes that define the neighborhood. Mood is coffee. Wow. 49th Parallel Roasters. Micro roastery with a cult following rotates beans based on flavor profiles. I have never heard of these guys. Modus Coffee, Mount Pleasant. Oh wow, it looks nice. Okay, we gotta go there. Modus Coffee. So you go on Kimby and you go here. That's where Modus Coffee is. Very interesting. So everything is hidden over here. 49th Parallel Roasters, one of Vancouver's most famous roasters. Gateway Cafe, Cocoa and Olive, yes. Rustic tables, relaxed breakfast vibe, feels like a tiny slice of the left bank. Dropping to East Van, AM Cafe, Aperture Coffee, motorbike inspired interior. Yes, yes, yes. Cocoa and Olive is pretty solid. Cocoa et Olive. Yes. And actually, Cocoa and Olive, it's not Cocoa and Olive. Liberty beside it. It's even more beautiful. Yes. The deeper culture, coffee, art, startups. Cafe scenes intertwined with the neighborhood's creative history. Long hosted artist collectors like the Western Front, founded in 1973 as a hub for experimental art. Indie filmmakers editing footage, GF founders coding, mural artists meeting clients, photographers reviewing shoots. A subtle hierarchy of cafes. Coffee Nerd, Temples, Modus, Milano, Fog Lifter, Work Cafes, JJ Bean, Kafka's, Waves, Social Cafes, Cocoa Olive, Aperture, Theory. Each category attracts slightly different tribes. Mount Plaisant. Post-pandemic priorities, a broader wellness economy, declining alcohol culture. We heard about this. Post-pandemic priorities. Dutch prisons and health have taken center stage. Bathhouses have resurfaced not just as wellness destinations but as communal spaces of connection. Embodied screen-free experiences and made health a high priority. A shift from fitness to recovery. Described as a progression. First came high impact workouts and low impact studios, and now a third phase, recuperation and longevity. Contrast therapy, alternating between saunas and cold plunges, has gained mainstream credibility for benefits like improved circulation, reduced muscle soreness, mood enhancement. Hygiene necessity in places that lacked private plumbing, but they evolved over time into venues for socializing and escape from daily routines. Contemporary design created atmosphere and add-ons like breathwork sessions, sound baths. We did a sound bath today, and healthy food, making them feel more like social clubs than spas. The design tendency leans towards soothing, nature-inspired spaces that feel minimal yet organic, using natural materials like stone, wood, and glass alongside modern infrared saunas and chromotherapy rooms. Very cool. Parks and public squares. More democratic third place city. Great cities build plazas where people naturally gather. Piazza del Campo. Stanley Park seawall. Public spaces where cities breathe socially. Universities and lecture venues. Places where ideas circulate. Debate zones, intellectual marketplaces, serendipity generators. Examples: Oxford, MIT Media Lab, university cafes, bookstores. Are not just retail spaces, they are intellectual gathering points, event venues, conversation starters. Examples: Shakespeare and Company, Powell's, gym and fitness studio, modern bonding mechanism. These are structured workplaces, hobby clubs and maker spaces. Communities organized around shared curiosity, woodworking, robotics, art studios, hacker spaces. Ideas spread extremely quickly in these environments. Cultural venues, art galleries, small theater and music venues create shared emotion experiences. This is why jazz clubs, poetry venues, indie cinemas often produce tight communities. Co-working spaces, work adjacent but socially open. The best co-working spaces function like entrepreneurial salons, idea markets, collaboration hubs. Soho House, creative studios, startup hubs. Digital, modern edition, online communities now function like intellectual cafes. Research forum, these often produce real-world meetups later. The secret pattern: lower barrier to entry, regular attendance, unstructured conversation, shared ritual, mixed groups of people. When these conditions exist, startups form, art movements start, friendships deepen. Belonging, routine, and identity, a place to return to multiple times a week, not an occasional escape. Widely popular, I want to create a welcoming space where socializing can happen with no alcohol present. People will naturally feel relaxed and invigorated. Sets the stage for healthy, enjoyable ways to interact. Healthy third places, not just because they promote longevity and self-care, but because they position themselves as alternatives to social gatherings centered around alcohol. They represent a modern alternative to bar nightlife, particularly appealing to millennials and Gen X, seeking connection without intoxication. Will such modern bathhouse concepts become a pillar of urban wellness? Thomas certainly thinks so. These venues offer belonging, routine, On occasion, escape, they have full operating models built intentionally with programming, guest flow, and revenue structure at the center. Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. If that's good or bad. Is this good or bad that we have people who want... It's interesting. I think when you're young, you do want to play, you do want to also consume alcohol. It's not like just to be safe and like healthy you should not be consuming alcohol. It's okay. It's not okay. You should be consuming alcohol. Go out, have fun, make memories with friends, and do everything that you want to do. Yeah, don't go over the board, but you should definitely do it. Nietzsche. Wow. Grok is pulling up pictures now. Really cool. Dionysian. Apollo. We'll have achieved much for the scientific study of aesthetics when we come not merely to a logical understanding, but also to the certain and immediate apprehension of the fact that the further development of art is bound up with the duality of the Apollonian and the Dionysian, just as reproduction similarly depends upon the duality of the sexes. There are continuing strife and only periodically occurring reconciliation. With those true gods of art, Apollo and Dionysus, we establish our recognition that in the Greek world there exists a huge contrast in origin and purposes between the visual arts, the Apollonian, and the non-visual art of music, the Dionysian. These two very different drives go hand in hand for the most part in open conflict with each other and simultaneously provoking each other all the time to new and more powerful offspring until at last, through a marvelous metaphysical act of the Greek will, they appear paired up with each other, and as this pair finally produce Attic tragedy, as much a Dionysian as an Apollonian work of art. In tragedy, the Dionysian provides the underlying spirit, the ecstatic insight into life, suffering, and unity, echoing Schopenhauer's will, while the Apollonian shapes it into heroic figures, dialogue, and plot, creating a beautiful veil over the horror. This allows the audience to glimpse the abyss without being destroyed by it. Thus does the Apollonian wrest us from Dionysian universality and fill us with rapture for individuals. I forgot the meaning of rapture. Ivres. Rapture means drunk. Here the Dionysian shows itself in comparison with the Apollonians as the eternal and original power of art, which calls the whole world of phenomena into existence, in whose midst a new transfiguring appearance becomes necessary in order to keep alive the busy world of individuation. To express Dionysian truth, the terror and ecstasy of existence. Beautiful appearances, individuated heroes, the terror and ecstasy of existence. The chorus often embodies the Dionysian collective musical frenzy, while the actors and plot provide Apollonian clarity. Harmonious light on one side versus Dionysus' shadowy wine and twilight chaos on the other. Himself evoking the thinker who sought to revive his tragic sensibility in modern life. This fusion isn't mere balance, it's a productive tension that affirms life by making the unbearable beautiful and meaningful. Later Nietzsche moves beyond tragedy, critiquing Wagner and embracing a more purely Dionysian yes-saying in works like Zarathustra. Synthesis remains his highest artistic ideal. Schopenhauer's influence on Nietzsche. Known to be the best work of Nietzsche. Oh no. Oh no, it's not nature. It's Nietzsche. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Magnum opus, book of for all and none, culmination of his thought, presenting core ideas like Übermensch, eternal recurrence, the death of God, the will to power through poetic, prophetic, and allegorical prose. Iconic, influential work overall. Massive cultural impact. Supreme literary and visionary achievement, though its poetic, metaphorical style can make it challenging or less philosophical in a straightforward way compared to his prose works, Beyond Good and Evil. Because it encapsulates his key themes without the heavy allegory of Zarathustra. Masterpiece in terms of rigorous argumentation. It's a more structured essay-like analysis of how moral concepts, good versus evil, master versus slave morality, arose historically, and it's often praised for its clarity and depth, making it a topic for understanding his critique of Christianity and Western values. The gay science introduces God is dead, an eternal recurrence in a lively aphoristic mix of philosophy and poetry, many consider it essential for grasping his joyful, life affirming side.